What's going on, guys? I'm Joe Ghost, and today I'm going to give you a little rundown of how I made my new remix on DIM MAK called Surge. I'm going to show some of the VSTs I've used, some of my go-to like sounds and everything, and hopefully you guys can learn something, because I learned a lot off tutorials. So the inspiration for this track came from, I was in the airport and I was listening to this new Steve Aoki podcast. I think it was in like November, and he featured Surge track as like his throwback track of the podcast, and it just brought back so many memories for me in 2013. How it was like an anthem for me. The vocals on it are just so amazing, and I wanted to challenge myself to create something that wasn't my typical big room drop, but something I could still play in my sets and listen into the car after. So let's jump into the track. So as you can see here, looking at the screen off the bat, you can see I like to group all my major sounds together. So I have my vocal in one group, my leads all in one group, and then so on and so on. So like my kick, bass, drums, FX, and then I send them all to separate channels, so it's easier to EQ and change everything. So when I start with a track, I start with the leads first, rather than try to build a song around a kick. So what I usually do is I'll insert a new MIDI file and insert usually Sylenth and just an initial preset. So it's just a tone. And I'll record for a minute just playing the piano, and usually if I find something that hits me, I'll just grab that out of that whole recording. So this pattern came really fast. I think it's something like... So once I'm happy with it, I'll start to quantize it and then start finding like the actual sounds for it. So I use Massive pretty much for this whole track. So this is the main lead. And what I do is, once I find something I'm happy with, Nick Romero Kickstart plugin is really great for creating a sidechain, because it's first of all, the workflow on it's quick. There's no compression. It's just an envelope that basically lets the kick punch through. Then I'll do a simple like equalizing on it. I don't want any low end coming in, because you want to competing with the kick or the bass. And then another important thing I do is add a little bit of groove. I don't want it to sound too robotic and stiff, so the groove pool in Ableton is really good. I usually use the notator 16 A swing or B or C. It just matters the track. So the actual leads are 6 layers. So it's that one, and then I have this middle one that sort of fills up the mid frequency, and then this sort of like future bass sound that I had playing in a higher octave, and it gives that nice little groove to it. And then I also have this layer which sits sort of in the background, but it helps to fill up the spectrum. So once I'm happy with that, I'll go to my kick section, and the kick is pretty much the most important part of a track. It could be the definition of a good track and a bad track. Even if everything else in the track sounds really good and the kick doesn't really shine, it really doesn't do any benefits for the track. So when this Nick Romero plugin came out, it really like changed how I made music, because you're able to create the perfect sounding kick drum the way you hear it. And a lot of times the samples you're finding in sample packs are actually samples from other songs, so you're getting a lot of artifacts in them that you don't really want, that'll mess up your track. So you insert the kick VST, and for this track I actually made my own under user kicks. So here's where the window where you adjust the parameters of the kick, how much you want coming through. So change the pitch and to get it to the key you want. So right now it sounds like this. Now, because I wanted to go with a kick-based Melbourne style feel for this, I shortened the length of the actual like kick, because I didn't want it competing with the bass. I wanted everything to flow nicely, not get a muddy low end. So that's it with a lower length. As you can tell, it doesn't have much of a tail. And then the most important part of the kick is actually the click, which is the top end of the kick. And a lot of the demos I get from new producers, they sort of overlook this or forget to add it in. And that's actually the part that makes it shine, the kick. I get asked so many times by new producers, they're like, I listened to it in my buddy's car and it sounded amazing, but then I listened to my phone, the kick wasn't basically there. So the click is what actually does that. It's just the higher end of the top end of the kick. So for this one I actually used click number 12, I believe. You can see with the sidechain how I have everything basically swinging, and it leaves a little envelope for the kick just to come through and really shine before the lead comes in again. And it creates a nice little groove. So once I'm happy with the way those two sound, I next move into the bass. So for this one, like I said before, I wanted to go with a Melbourne style like sound where it's like an offbeat type bass. So it's a variation of the main lead, which I play heavily sidechain. I usually do my mix downs after I get the full skeleton together. So I just lower, get rid of any of the high end, because you don't really want that messing with any of the leads, and just a little cut so it's not taking over the overall like low end of the mix. So when you play it together with the kick, you get a really nice groove that flows, and then add in with the leads. It's important that you have everything sitting where it should be. So the low ends in the lower frequency, the leads in the mid to the high, and then your higher frequencies not really clashing with anything in the mids, and it lets everything shine through. So once I'm happy with that part, I move on to pretty much a very crucial part of the track, which is the effects. And these are things that are happening in the background. You might not even be able to pick them out half the time, but they're what help make the brain feel like the track is constantly moving and you're not getting bored during the track. So they're a combination of like white noises, uplifters, downlifters, and I actually got a few emails about this one from producers asking me where I got this sound, and it's actually a sound I made myself. It's a white noise hit that sounds like it's rising and swinging from side to side. It really fills up a track really nice. And I'll show you how I made it. So it was really easy. Load up a MIDI track, insert Sylenth. You could use any VST that has initial patch on it, and just change it to white noise. It's a simple white noise sound. Simple white noise sound that EQ'd, got rid of all the low end, and then I bounced it to an audio file. So once you bounce it to an audio file, you end up with this. So I added more EQing to get rid of all the low end, because there's no reason to have any low end on this. And then I added this delay, which is a ping pong effect, so it actually bounces from speaker to speaker. And then in the chain I have a compressor, a sidechain compressor, so it gives it the pumping effect. And then the next thing is what actually gives it the effect. It's this meta flanger, and it gives it this feeling like it's rising while it's switching side to side. So all of them together give this cool effect. And then in the track, so once I'm happy with like the general like structure of the track, and I think it's something I could play out, I'll like bounce it to audio and send it to like DJ friends and close friends just for their opinion, and test it out in a club. And then from there, once I'm happy with it, I'll like bounce everything down to a separate track and start working on like the automation and arrangement, and fine-tune the mix down to almost to the point where it's ready to release and give to you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I think I'm gonna start doing this more often. It's very important to show tips and tricks that I've learned over the years, because I learned by watching videos on YouTube, and let me know if there's anything you want to know, anything I didn't cover, and I'll try to answer. Take care, guys.